are on board Royal Caribbean's newest ship, Utopia of Seas, and I'm sitting down with CEO and President of Royal Caribbean, Jason Liberty. Jason, it's great to be here. Tell us what is so exciting about this ship when you take a tour, when you see the different things that this ship has to offer. What really differentiates it from the rest?
Yeah. Well, first I would say it's great to be here. I'm so happy to have you here on Utopia of the Seas. You know, this ship is really designed for the consumer we have in mind here, and that's the consumer that is looking for a short vacation getaway. And we've done that with restaurants and entertainment, and that's really where it differentiates. You would see the culinary experience, the bar scene, the live entertainment that happens across the ship, and then of course the restaurants, which compete with anything on land, helps us deliver that. You combine that with the ship going to Perfect Day at Coco Cay. That combination is just a recipe for incredible vacation experiences for our guests.
I was speaking to Morningstar's Jamie Katz, who was saying that Americans, unfortunately, they just don't always have time to take that 6 to 8 day cruise. That's why the 3-day market, she says, is very appealing to not just consumers, but from Wall Street's perspective as well. Can you give us some numbers on how big this market is?
Yeah, well, I think when you look at the millennials in themselves, they are the now largest part of the population here in the U.S. And when we poll them, 42% of those guests say that they look for, in their vacation experience, shorter getaways. Some of that, I think, was also accelerated because of COVID. They got used to more flexible work environments. We have Starlink on our ships, which allow you to be able to do video conferencing on our ships. And so I think that weekend getaway or doing something short in the middle of the week it really hits well to the millennials and the younger populations as well.
As we try to understand how technology is impacting our lives in every sector, how is AI being embraced by the cruise industry and Utopia of the Seas specifically?
Yeah, well, AI is a very kind of big part in many different ways. So some of the non-sexier side is that we've eliminated 30 to 40% of our food waste by using AI, right? So if we know the demographics of our ships, if we know where the ships are going, what the weather patterns are, we can predict like how many hamburgers we should be producing every 15 minutes. Maybe on a little bit of the sexier side is we're able to use information to help curate the experience for you. So the more we know about you, you might love a margarita always at dinner time, and so we can produce that margarita for you there on demand. Also, the vast majority of our yield management, our pricing, is now being driven by AI. And so it's much more tuned into what the consumer wants. So we curate what that actual package is for you versus just putting out a price.
Okay. Of course, one of the challenges that any transportation or travel company has is they're vulnerable to the price of oil. What are you doing on the fuel side? I know you're working with alternative biofuels. Is that working? And is that something that you think the industry can embrace going forward?
Yeah, so I mean, one way we deal with volatility of fuels, we are typically 12 to 24 months out, about 50 to 60% hedged. So that's one way for us to deal with that. We have been, for now, the past 18 months, testing biofuels into our tanks, which allows us to test to make sure that the ships can operate at different levels of biofuels. The reality of it is there's not enough biofuels for the entire industry or broader maritime. So we're working with suppliers to get more and more supply available to us in the locations around the world where our ships bunker. And then, of course, we're on this journey of identifying alternative fuels, green fuels, that will be available and scalable and affordable to us all around the world. So it's a journey, but it's a journey as an industry that we're working together, right? We don't trade on safety, we don't trade on security, we don't trade on the environment. And we're all coming together to work to try to solve it.
In Europe, there is some concern that some countries are trying to combat this issue around over-tourism, the impact that's having on their economies. Can you speak to what you're hearing from officials and from those countries, whether it's Greece, Spain, Italy, and how does that affect your growth there?
Yeah, well, I think that when you go into Europe, there are some areas where it's a little bit warmer as it relates to anti-tourism movements. It's not about not having cruise passengers there. It's just not having a certain volume of cruise passengers there. But it's not always really targeted just at cruise. It's also other providers of hospitality, or it could be like the Airbnbs and VBROs that are also crowding those different city centers. What we're doing is we're trying to continue to diversify the locations that we go to. We have over 100 different port projects going on around the world. We're building more private destinations like Perfect Day, and we've announced a Royal Beach Club in Nassau, Royal Beach Club in Cozumel, Mexico, to try to take some of that pressure off of some of those city centers.
Okay. And then lastly, in Asia, what should we expect from Royal Caribbean in the next 2 years?
Yeah, well, we continue to grow our footprint in Asia, specifically in China. So we have a ship in China now, as well as we have ships that go throughout Southeast Asia and Japan, Asia Pac with Australia, New Zealand. And so we expect to continue to grow in that Asia Pac corridor over time. Of course, we're watching all the signals and tea leaves of the consumer and just making sure that we're growing at the right pace with them.
Great. Jason, thanks for your time.
Great. Thanks, Sima.